This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen in my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one. Hey, he's just being frank.
Yeah, all right.
Here we go.
Hey, here we go. Hey, that is right. Welcome into another episode of Just Being Frank. This time we are coming at you from the Spoke Club side here in downtown Amherst. My name's Jay Burnham, voice of the Minutemen, alongside my broadcast partner, our esteemed head coach for UMass men's basketball, Coach Frank Martin, presented by the Massachusetts Collective. Coach, good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm going to say something I've always wanted to say. We were having some technical difficulties, Jay.
We were, but Sam got us covered.
Our guy Sam got it done.
He's pretty talented. He's been with us on all these trips this year. Feels like it's been a long year.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming into a big game on Saturday night, rivalry matchup against Rhode Island, big giveaway to the student fan base as well. But why don't you give us an update, what the last couple of days have been like for you with no midweek game this week?
Yeah, it's last year we had the bye week next week, like headed into the conference tournament. And we needed it because Keon Thompson hadn't practiced in 2 weeks with a bad toe, and then Jalen hurt his toe in the Fordham game. And so we needed those guys, their body to quiet down so they can try and play in the conference tournament. But if you remember, we were off the week, and then we didn't play till the quarters late in the week. And that first half against VCU, we weren't as sharp. We were a little not lethargic. You stop playing games for so long. It's hard to stay on point. Played better the second half, but still, So after that experience, I was like, I don't like having a bye week headed into the conference tournament. You lose your consistency, your edge, all those things. And but this week was good. I think our team needed it for not just our health physically, but our mentally. We needed to kind of just step away from each other and hit the reset button a little bit. I know I needed it. They needed it. We've been, we dealt with the stuff that we don't control, which is illness and injuries. Right after that LaSalle game. Going into the LaSalle game, I knew some guys were, they had a little cold or whatever, but never thought it was going to be something serious. And then that night, Super Bowl Sunday, I started getting text messages from Dave, our trainer, and away we go. That thing just kind of spread like wildfire, and it broke our rhythm, broke our consistency, and we haven't played well since. So we needed to separate and take a deep breath, and we did. Having Jalen Curry back in practice is better. We're still down Rivera and Akil. Rivera will be reevaluated after the Loyola Chicago game, and depending on it's his MCL, medial collateral ligament, depending on because he had already tweaked his knee on the lateral side 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he asked to be injected so he can play, and so because I'm sure there's people running around having opinions, and if you know somebody that's been an athlete, go ask them what it feels like to get injected so you can numb your leg so you can play. It's not a fun experience, and it takes a lot of courage for somebody at that age to do it. And then Jay Curry hurt his wrist in the Davidson game, and he has to be injected too. The problem is that where his wrist, and it's his left wrist, and he's a left-hand dominant player, where his left wrist hurt, the doctor was not comfortable sticking a needle in there. Don't ask me the reasons why. I wouldn't be able to tell you that. But he wanted to get injected so he can play. So we haven't played well. It is what it is. I'm giving you kind of the cliff notes of what the last 3 weeks have been like. And I as soon as we lost at GW, I headed to New York. I went to watch a high school team practice on Sunday. I had a family function Sunday night. Then I went recruiting, and I was on the road Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and got back Thursday. I basically came from the airport straight to the court. And Alan, that's a great thing about my staff, is having guys that have been head coaches and guys that understand me, and they had just gotten practice started, and there was a purpose and a reason for what they were doing, and I jumped in there, and we had a good practice yesterday. I thought we were really good today. So now we got to go play better. Yeah. It is what it is. It's we got the guys we got, and now the cold and the flu, or it's some other virus that's going around. Not corona. It's like norovirus or something like that. I don't know what it's called. Dave, our trainer.
You were out bad for
it got
week.
Me. If you can hear him, I'm still congested and But that was when we played LaSalle and GW at home that week. I was sick. But they can I pull the old back in the day card?
Sure.
Us guys from back in the day, we don't take days off, Jay.
It's hard to say, I don't feel well, I'm not coming in.
If my grandmother got word that I missed work because I had a headache or I was congested, she would roll over in her grave and take a broomstick and come out of the grave and pop me upside my head.
Well, you talk about the injections, which is obviously a big choice for a student athlete to make. At one point, I was a know-it-all intern for a minor league baseball team, and we had a roving pitching coordinator by the name of Bob the Steamer Stanley, who pitched for the Red Sox back in the 80s.
I remember Bob Stanley.
And we had a pitcher who was injured, and I was mouthing off, and I said, well, why doesn't he just get a cortisone shot? And he got in my face, and he said, son, do you know how long those needles are? And when he was playing, I mean, they were 12 inches long, and they'd have to inject it into your elbow. So after then, I've been a little more understanding of what athletes have to go through.
It's awful, man. It's, and I don't even get involved in injury conversations anymore. Times are different. We used to, as coaches, get involved, and the doctor would say, well, he's healthy enough to play. So then as a coach, you challenge them. Like, you got to play, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even get involved. Everyone's different. Everyone handles discomfort different. Everyone's bodies heal differently. What I tell players is real simple. There's some guys that are willing to play with discomfort, and there's some guys that can't. I'm not here to judge you. Our jobs as coaches and trainers is to protect them. And I tell the players, I don't want them walking like I walk when they become my age, because we didn't have trainers back then. And when the first time, I'll never forget, the first time I hurt my knee, I didn't go see an orthopedic guy. I went to see like the guy that you go see when you got the sniffles and he gives you aspirin. That guy looked at my knee. I was like 18 or 17, somewhere in there. He looked at my knee. He was like, you're good. I went out to play and I planted my leg, and everyone in the gym heard the knee explode. Well,
let's talk about, because you had to go through it without Jalen Curry, who's obviously a big component of what you guys do. So, you get him back, and hopefully you think that can maybe help stabilize some things heading into the game against Rhode Island.
Yeah. Jay, here's the deal. Here's the situation, and I'm going to give you some insight because I'm sure, fans, people, whatever, they try to figure out, well, what are the decisions that go on? And when Frank's putting a roster together, because that is my ultimate responsibility, is to make sure that I fill 13 scholarships with the right guys. That's my job. We're in an era where we're all mad at players because they get up and leave every year. And then we sit around and say, there's no loyalty. Well, last year we had 3 guys that have played point at some time in their career here. Jalen Curry, Marquis Worthy, Rasul Diggins. When the season ended, Rasul comes in my office and he said, he didn't say, hey, I want to go in the portal, see what my value is. Hey, this agent called my dad and said that I'm way underpaid here. No, he said, give me a chance to play point. That's all he said to me. So I said, all right. So as we get into the summer, in my mind, I'm saying, I don't know if we have enough depth at the point. And that's the one place where you can't be shorthanded. I'd rather have 5 point guards than have one that plays the whole game. And I took a deep breath, and I made a decision rather than bring a transfer point guard in here and recruit over those guys. Those guys were loyal, and I still believe in who they are as players. And if you pay attention to when we started putting the pieces together the right way 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, we're starting to become a really good team.
Right.
And but I knew that if we had an injury or whatever to one of those guys, we're going to have some issues. But I made a decision to ride with the guys that were loyal to us. And you know, when Jalen went down, I knew that would create some issues for us. And we've been trying to fix it and haven't been quite able to fix it. The good thing about it is that I think everyone now is players. See, it's easy to blame the point guard because he's the guy with the ball in his hands. It's easy to blame the head coach because he's the one that's standing up on the sidelines. And we, like I tell people all the time, they all want to be point guards until they're a point guard. Then they don't like it. Everybody wants the head coach's salary until they're a head coach. Then they don't want what comes with being a head coach. And I think everyone now can sit back. Players, teammates, anyone that had an opinion, sit back and say, Jalen Curry's pretty good.
Yeah.
And
the difference that he makes.
He gives our team an ability that we just don't have without him.
Well, talk about, you know, I hate to have to consistently talk about injuries, but you mentioned Daniel Rivera, who had been dealing with a bit of a knee issue and then ultimately had that re-injured in the George Washington game last weekend. He provides so much toughness and rebounding for you.
Yeah.
In his stead, you know, we've seen you utilize Tariq Foster recently in some roles without Akil Watson on the shelf as well. So how do you, or can you, replace that tenacity that Daniel Rivera brings to the court each night?
Well, the good thing is that you got Daniel Sanford. So
That's true.
So you can slide DHS into that spot, and he's been playing well lately. He's taken a step forward as a player. But then that means that one of those other big guys is going to have to own the center spot, and which we've tried them all this year. I've been playing Luka some lately. Luka has, like in the last 2 weeks, because of the sickness and the injuries, our spirit has been down, and I can't stand bad spirit. And Luka has had incredible spirit during this same time. So I said, I'm throwing him out there. I'm always going to ride with the guys that have enthusiasm to compete, enthusiasm to help, not people who sit around and feel sorry for themselves. I can't help those people. And so I've thrown Luka out there, and he's been all right. You know, he's still, you know, he's not quite ready to be your full-time guy in there, but he's very intelligent, gets to the right place, and he can pass the basketball, so at least you can throw it to him, and he can reverse the ball to the other side of the floor, and you can actually, you know, run some offense. And but those guys are all, you know, Malik, Shahid, Luka, Amadou. Those guys are going to have to contribute. They're going to have to contribute consistently, so I can keep playing DHS at the 4. You know, today I practiced Jaden at the 4 a little bit. That makes us really, really small. But at the end of the day, my job as a coach is to prepare us for everything. And so we got to prepare, because if we got to play Sanford at the 5, I got to play someone else at the 4. Yep. Jaden's really intelligent, and he knows what everyone needs to do. So he'll be solid there if I have to throw him there.
It's been a pleasure to watch Jaden Jingay grow now in his sophomore season. And there was a game, maybe 2-3 games ago, where his shot this year from the outside has been struggling a little bit, and he ended up hitting 2 threes in the same game, and that sort of, I think, buoyed his spirits a little bit. I see him in the Champion Center every day, shooting nonstop. Yeah, it felt like a little bit of a payoff and reward for a guy that puts so much in.
Yeah, he the hardest thing to as coaches, we try to communicate to players what they're good at and what they're not good at. It's our jobs. You got to be honest with people, and then you got to help them improve on their weaknesses so they can become a more complete player. Jaden put a lot of time in to be a better offensive player in the offseason. A lot of time. He continues to put in a lot of time. But then the season starts and you start playing and you don't get the rewards for all the work. That's a frustrating place to be in. And he went through that early in the year because he was expecting everything to just be smoother. And he couldn't, and when things don't work out that way, you start pressing a little bit. And you see Danny Hurley's answer when they said something about the press?
No, what'd he say?
Oh,
it's hard to keep up with what all you crazy coaches say at your press conferences.
So he goes to the press conference. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
Go for it.
You, but I said press, and it reminded me. I thought it was a great moment. Go to a great press conference. So someone in the press said to him, because they've been having too many turnovers, so are you feeling better on how you handle the press? And he said, not really. The press has been you know what, to me all year.
Any chance to take a shot?
Oh my God! It's but Jaden's all about UMass, all about the team, all about winning. He puts too much pressure on himself to have to just, everyone gets better at different rates, and he's a much better player this year than he was last year, but he doesn't see it. Because he's not getting the individual results and we're not getting the team results that allows him to understand that's something that when we get away from this season, I think he'll step back and realize, like, man, I've gotten better. And but that comes with time, and one thing about him, he's going to keep working.
Rasul Diggins is a dozen points away from scoring 1,000 in a UMass uniform. Sam, what is he overall? He needs 5 to get 1,000 for his career if you include the short amount of time he spent at UConn. Reflection on what that means for a player when they reach that milestone, maybe specifically for him as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of buckets. It's it's a lot of growth. I was around Michael Beasley, who averaged 26 points a game as a true freshman, and not everyone's like that. 98% of players have to get into college and figure it out. And as they figure it out, they start getting better. And as they get better, then they start scoring more efficiently. Here's where it's impressive with Rasul. He really got nothing at UConn. And he's basically had 3 different teams around him in his 3 years here. And having to understand how to play with new teammates every single year, it's not easy. It's just not easy. And we were actually flowing pretty good and pretty consistently with how we were playing, which allowed him to play really well and be good at the things that he's really good at. And then over the last 2 weeks, he's had to take on more responsibility with lacking of help so he's had to take some bad shots and just force some things because he's trying to help the team, and that's not the way to go, but his courage has been good, and hopefully with Jalen back, we can get him playing more consistent and better along with everybody else, but a great accomplishment for Rasul. I'm really for a guy who supposedly don't let guys play, because that's what these geniuses out there say about me. I don't let guys play.
What do they say about you? You don't let them play to the way they want to play?
Everything negative is used by everybody, so I really don't care. But he don't let guys play. He's all defense, all this. Last time I checked, this is the 3rd school where the scoring record for an individual player is a guy that played for me. I must be an undercover offensive coach.
You blind them with the defense that they don't see the offense, coach.
I don't know. It's K-State, leading scorer in the history of the school, most points ever scored in a game, played for me. 2nd leading scorer in the history of South Carolina, most points ever scored. The top 3 most points ever scored in a game, played for me. Now I come here, plays for me. I must be a down low offensive guru.
Well, how about I wanted to talk a little bit about Tariq Foster, who didn't play a ton last year, didn't really see the court at the beginning of the season, and now because of the situation that you're in, is getting a little more run. Hey, speaking of Rasul, did he hear all the nice things that you said about him? No, he missed those. All right, welcome. How you doing?
You see how quick I shut up when he walked in. he's next door. Like I'm surprised he didn't come down in slippers.
I wanted to ask you about Tariq Foster now that we're seeing him a little bit more. It looks like he could be one of those guys that can help you from the perimeter as well with his three-point shot. What's been your assessment of the limited time that we've seen from him?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard me say it before. It's not that he does anything wrong. He just, the guy in front of him does what we need to do a little bit better than him right now. And but because of, just being short on bodies, and he's gotten an opportunity. And Tariq's a talented, he's a great kid. That's the start, period. End of story. There's no, just a great, great kid. I mean, he is, salt of the earth. I mean, it's ridiculous what a good kid he is. So now he's getting an opportunity to play, and he's got to maximize it. He didn't play real well our last game at GW. But that's what happens. It's now it's his opportunity, and he's got to keep building and gaining confidence. And he's an offensive. He's a kid that's got offensive talent. He can score. He's got length. He's got to be a better rebounder. He's got to be a better defender. Those are things that he's got to do better. But offensively, he's pretty talented, and we need his baskets right now. It's we need him to keep growing as a player.
You've got Rhode Island for the second time this season, obviously at home, 6 o'clock Saturday night. When you think about the first game, what, I guess, was missing in that first half? I think you guys went down by 20 and then forced the comeback within a bucket in the last minute and a half. What rings out when you think about that first game against Rhode this year?
Yeah, we were in control of the game in the first half. I mean, we were scoring, we were guarding them, and then we just hit one of those pockets that unfortunately we've hit this year where we don't score, and then Rhode at home, Thomas made banged a crazy three in, and then now all of a sudden we fouled them on a 3-point shot,
a 4-point play,
and it's in the game that we were up 3-4, whatever, 20-16 or something like that. All of a sudden got flipped on us, and instead of us, that's been a weakness of ours, instead of locking in when the other team starts a run and really saying, stop. Like, we got to have a really good offensive possession, and we got to follow that up with a great defensive possession. We tend to want to do too much offensively, individually, which leads to a bad shot. And then defensively, we get our feelings hurt when the ball ain't going in the basket for us. So then, it's been our problem all year. It's something we've battled. But we did. I think we got down 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Then we changed the defenses up a little bit, and our guys, like they've been all year, they've been resilient. They didn't throw in the towel. They locked in, they battled, and heck, we had 2 shots to take the lead. And our guy that's sitting at the table here, I asked him after the game, because we ran a play and the ball got to him, and it was in that left corner for a 3 to basically win it. And he didn't shoot it. He said, "I didn't catch it clean," and that's that's the stuff as a coach you don't see from the sideline. Yeah. But somebody missed a 3 right in front of me to either tie the game or take the lead. We get an offensive rebound, and they pass it to Akil, and Akil has it, and it goes through his hands out of bounds. If not, he's got an uncontested layup to tie the game. We battled all the way back, and I was on the sideline in that game, and I was like, we're not losing this game. We're winning, just the way we were playing there.
Yeah, it feels like there's been a few of those moments this year where, the St. Louis game obviously comes to mind, where if one thing breaks your way, then you're maybe change how you perceive the season, because instead of, being where you are, you've got 2 or 3 more wins in the A-10.
Yeah, Central Connecticut State, we missed 14 free throws or something like that. You can't miss free throws and win. Hofstra, same thing. St. Louis, how we lost that game, I have no idea, but we did. That happens, How did we win for them?
Yeah.
It all balances out at the end. That's the craziness about coaching is that you can't overreact to the good ones or the bad ones. Sometimes things happen, and you just got to learn and move forward. And but we've had easily 5 games that we've left on the table. I want to say West Virginia. We had the ball to tie the game. We missed like 15 free throws in that game. And free throw shooting killed us early in the year. We've gotten better
in that category.
We've gotten better there, but early in the year, just missed free throws just killed us. I want to say Louisiana Tech, we got down 15 or something, but we battled and came down. Again, we missed a ton of free throws that game, and it's a shame, but we can't live life in the rearview mirror. You got to go forward, and the bottom line is all those are lessons that learned. What we've been through the last 2 weeks is going to make us better. It's going to make us stronger. It's going to make us appreciate things a little bit more. And we got to line up and play tomorrow and be excited about competing and be excited about getting back in the lane that we worked so hard to get into and figure out a way to win.
Speaking of free throws, one guy that we haven't talked a ton about this year, but when he's been given the chance, Nate Garangamba is 93% from the free throw line. He rarely misses.
Yeah.
You think that'll translate into maybe his shooting from the perimeter?
Nate can shoot. Nate works at it. And Nate, I saw him play enough in high school to know that he could shoot, but you can ask Rasul. It's hard to make the adjustment in college basketball because, with all due respect to Nate, in half court, I'm not running plays for Nate. I'm running plays for him, for Rasul. And so now all of a sudden Nate becomes a second, not option, but he's not the guy that's
it's like an ancillary piece.
Correct.
To the play. Yeah.
And now you don't shoot 10 balls to make 4. You shoot 3 balls and you got to make 2. And so that pressure to make those positive plays, but Nate can shoot. Nate works at it. He's just going through the normal things that freshmen go through. I told you a little while ago, very few freshmen show up to college and figure it out right away. You remember Keon Thompson?
I do.
You remember how bad he was his freshman year?
I try not to say.
No, I said it.
He's bad. But
I said you don't have to say he was bad. I said he was bad. He'd be dribbling the ball.
I'll take your word for it.
He'd be dribbling the ball, and God bless him because he never laid it down. But he'd be dribbling the ball up the court, and he'd look at me on the sideline, and he'd have a look on his face of
what do I do?
I can't do this anymore. And I'd be on the sideline and say, we've got no chance. But that same guy got away from his freshman year, and you remember how good he was for us as a sophomore. And that's Rasul, because his first year here compared to last year, it's a big step that players take from year 1 to year 2. And I expect Nate will do that when he gets away from this season.
This game against Rhode Island, you got 3 games remaining in the regular season. Rhode, you got to play at St. Bonaventure, which is never easy, and then home against a surging Loyola Chicago team.
They're playing well, huh?
They are, yeah. But you've got to focus, obviously, on Rhode Island, which means a little bit more around here.
We could be playing a Division IX school tomorrow. The way we've played for the last 2 weeks, I would be geeked up to play our best game of the year tomorrow because we owe it to ourselves to play the game better. We haven't played well in 2 weeks. We owe it to ourselves to do things better tomorrow. But yes, given the fact that it's Rhode, that it means so much to so many, I was told in my press conference, I had a press conference, today. When was that, Sam? Was that today? Yesterday? Somebody asked me a question about playing Rhode in the future because UMass and Rhode have been opponents for the most of those 2 schools against anybody else. And I told them, I said, yeah, of course. It'd be pretty stupid to not eventually get the 2 schools back on the schedule. I just, next year is complicated because the MAC adds 2 games in the non-conference slate, and we're already capped out. And And I just think it needs to, for it to be healthy for UMass folks. We need to separate from the A10 for a year, so we can all focus in on what the new thing we got, which is the MAC. So we can leave the A10 in the rearview mirror. But absolutely, Rhode means too much to UMass as an opponent, and vice versa. And it's too close to campus to not play, and they're good, to not play a quality opponent like that in your non-conference schedule.
They've got a guy, Sebastian Thomas. I think he has 5 game-winning shots within the last 30 seconds this year. He's banked in game winners against Davidson and George Mason. He had 21 against you the first time, but it felt like down the stretch you guys were able to nullify him a little bit. He gets to the line a lot.
Yeah.
Will he be the focal point for you guys tomorrow, and how do you kind of mitigate what he's able to do?
Yeah, the guy House always plays well against us.
He does, yeah.
He
hits threes.
He always plays well against us, and you look at his stats, and I'm not saying he's a bad player. Don't misunderstand. He's not a bad player, but he always plays better than his stats against us. And but Thomas is the guy that you have to control. When they got going and they got away from us, Thomas just controlled the game, that segment. And when we got him back under control, that's when early in the game we had him under control. We had the lead. He went nuts. All of a sudden we got down. We kind of got him to relax again. And then all of a sudden we got all the way back into the game. So it's he is hands down their guy.
He takes bad shots, bad misses, and turns them into points quickly the other way.
Correct.
Because he's a little like Jalen Curry, who's able to do that too. Rips the board and then they runs up the court.
They play fast, and he's not running alone. There's other people running with him. But he knows how to play. At the end of the day, he knows how to play. That's what matters. It's some guys play fast and they have no idea what they're running into. He knows when to play fast. He knows when not to play fast. I don't like judging the decisions that people make on other teams, because I don't know what their coaches allow them or don't allow them to do. But he plays offense fearless. Like, he'll take some shots that you're probably saying, why would he shoot it? But that's why he makes them, because he plays offense with that fearless mentality. And because of that, when the game gets late, he's not scared to take a difficult shot or make a difficult decision.
You mentioned this being the final year for Massachusetts in the A10. There's 2 teams at the top of the conference, VCU, George Mason. Yeah. There's been success from Dayton still, even though they've had maybe a subpar season to their standard. St. Joe's. You know, what have you made of the gauntlet that you've gone through this season and what this league has been like in our final year here?
Yeah, I mean, we went nose to nose with Mason at Mason, and they're good. And we obviously beat Dayton. We went nose to nose with St. Joe's at St. Joe's. I mean, I think it was a 3-4 point game there in the last minute or something. You know, the only one that got away from us was VCU. Combination of they're really good, and we weren't in a good space as a team to go in there and beat their caliber of a team. When you talk about all those teams that you just mentioned, they all have a common denominator.
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Let me see. All the years I've spent with Frank Martin so far, year 3, you're going to say they've got people that have played together over multiple years.
They all return their guards.
I do listen.
They all return their guards. You know, Dayton replaced their center, but they return their guards and their power forward. St. Joe's returns their whole team. George Mason returns their best big, their best guard, and their 6th man. I can't remember his name right now, but a guard. And who's the other team? And VCU. VCU returns Bassamil, Zeb Jackson, Sholga, their center. They you know, that's 4 starters.
Yep.
So when you return, you know, let's not sit here and play the what if game, because it's not fun. But I think we'd be pretty good if we had returned old Josh Cohen and Matt Cross and Keon Thompson.
2 first-team all-conference players.
And a point guard.
Yep.
It's I think we would have been, you know, no disrespect to the guys we got right now. It's not what I'm trying to do, and I'm not trying to play the blame game or the he said, she said, or the what if game. That's not it. But if we had kept our guys, we'd be where we need to be.
This year,
but we didn't. So
the first, maybe last year too. Last year, this year really highlights what we're staring at in college athletics going forward, and how it doesn't resemble anything of what college athletics was 10 years ago.
Think about Missouri. Dennis Gates, who's the head coach of Missouri, when he was the point guard at a high school team out of Chicago that was loaded. It was ridiculous. They had 2 McDonald All-Americans. Their top 7 players signed Division I. They were loaded. He was the worst player of their top 7, and he went to Cal Berkeley. That gives you an idea, like
how good they were, yeah.
And no one spoke about him. If you went and watched him practice, he ran the team. He told everybody what to do, where to go. No surprise that he's had the success he's had as a head coach. You know what his record was last year at Missouri in conference play?
They didn't win a game in conference
play. They were
right?
0-18. Yeah. That's after the year before, he being the talk of the town because he got him to the NCAA tournament in his first year. And they went from there to 0-18. And now this year, I think they're like 10-5 or something like that in conference play. They're good. They're upper tier SEC team. I use Dennis as an example because it's 3 different teams. Yeah. The team he had when he got there, he basically inherited from Conzo Martin, and I think it was Conzo. Did he replace Conzo? I'm losing my mind right now. That's when I got
affirmative.
Fired. That's when I got fired at South Carolina. Same time. Conzo's my guy. We came in together. We left together. So, but he took over a team that guys all played for Conzo, and he brought in a transfer or 2, and they won. Those guys left. He brought in a brand new team. They went 0-18. Get out. Brand new team. Now they're 10-5, 11-5, something like that. I'm not saying it's right. I don't like it. But that's the world that college athletics is going into right now.
Big game tomorrow. Does anybody have a question for Coach Martin? You guys want to ask a question? Put you on the spot. Question? You want to ask a question here? I got a wireless mic.
I'm gonna make one more comment before the question based on all that.
Okay.
And you can't put it all on NIL.
Okay.
If there's a lot of teams in the country that spent a lot of money in NIL, and they can't win. What you have to understand is that without NIL, you got no chance. It's
you can spend money and still
correct
not spend it right or have it blow up.
Recruiting, still recruiting. You better go find the guys that fit you and fit who you want your school to be about. If not, it doesn't work. I don't care how much money you got.
Thank you guys for coming. How's the pizza?
Delicious.
How are the beverages?
Delicious.
What'd you order?
Cold beer.
Michelob Ultra.
Oh.
Watching the figure. Okay, not a sponsor.
Yeah.
All
right. Frank, you mentioned that you're going to try to play Daniel Hank and Sanford at the 4.
Yeah.
To keep the size of the team, the way it should be. I know Rhode Island's got a center who's 7 feet, 255 pounds. You got a couple of pretty lean centers. Do you anticipate playing Luka maybe a little more because he's got the size to match up with that guy, and maybe even Doumbia?
That's a great question. Thank you.
When you're in difficulty, when you're in uncertain times, whoever is willing to give you spirit, you have to lean on them. That's what Luka's done for us the last 2 weeks. His enthusiasm to compete, like I haven't put him in games all year. You'd think he'd be pouting. On the contrary, he's been one of our, in the difficult moment our team was going through, he's been one of our most enthusiastic guys. So I said, I'm going to go play the guy that has an enthusiasm for competing. And that's where he's got to get better. Like the guy you're talking about is a 5th-year senior. Luka's a freshman. Like Luka has to deal with that, so he comprehends the physicality that he's got to play with when he plays a guy like that. But it's all of them are going to have to help us. Every one of those guys is going to have to. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how strong you are. You have to compete. and you got to use your mind. Strength and athleticism doesn't do anything unless your brain functions. And the best way to offset athleticism is with your mind, with physicality. And we need our big guys to give us. They have to help us.
I was looking at the stats, and I noticed that I think his name is Brown.
That's it.
He shoots 51% from the line. Have you considered Hack-a-Shack?
If I was playing, he'd never make a layup over me. I tell you that much. He's going to have to work to get it. And when he got it, I know he's bigger than me, so I'm not going to be able to contest his shots. He's going to have to make some free throws. So it's we don't want a foul, just a foul, but that's always an option. Now, I'll say this, and it's just been like this season. It's one of those things it's happened this season. We have fouled guys that can't shoot, and they make all their free throws, and it's like, why? Yeah. Why? But yes.
Front ends of 1-and-1s, both
crazy.
of them. Yeah, it certainly
it's crazy.
Has been the case. Thank you so much. You guys got a question?
How you doing, Frank?
What's up, man?
So as you mentioned, you have a situation where you have guys like freshmen going against redshirt seniors, and college teams in general are getting older, and you have coaches like Patino who's saying he's not recruiting high school anymore. How do you find that balance of recruiting and bringing in high school players to develop, but then also rounding out the roster of players with experience?
Great question.
Absolutely, and that's the predicament that that fans don't, and I don't mean UMass fans, I mean college fans don't completely understand. I think the transfer portal opens up something around March 22nd or something like that. All the guys that go into the portal on March 22nd that commit pretty quick, they're all buy jobs. You know what I mean by that? And they all ask and demand a lot of money. So I don't like Rick Pitino's best players, okay? One played here. Cost some money for him to go there. Seton Hall, their best player, they paid him a lot of money to go there. The same thing with his big kid that transferred there from Kansas. He's got a guy, I don't know if you know the guy's name, Mike Repole, who's filthy wealthy, and they have funded their ability to go get those kind of guys. So the whole thing with recruiting is you got to get the transfer, because transfers are established college. Now, if you're a transfer, I've had conversations with transfers, I start laughing because they're at a bad school and they average 1 point, 1 rebound, and they're asking me, like, how much NIL you got? Like, you got to be kidding me. And I end the conversation, I never call again. But in the transfer deal, when you're trying to recruit the guys, because you can't recruit transfers to be bench players. When you bring a transfer in, it's got to be a difference maker. Those guys are established, and when they're established, it costs money. But I'm going to tell you the dynamic that we as coaches have to battle. What should I do with him, who's busted his ass and stayed loyal here? Give the new guy more money than him? Like, now he's walking around saying, like, what's up? I thought Frank was like, really? So I dealt with all your crap, but you're going to go pay that guy? Like, that's the dynamic. So it's a hard thing to manage right now. It's not as easy as people think. And then if you go with freshmen, they're not ready, so you're going to get beat up in the head a little bit. The secret is, can you keep your good players? That's the secret, and that's why I was telling him earlier, the best teams in the A-10, they kept their good players. If you can keep your good players, you got a chance. It gives you a leg up. But yes, just one last point on the whole recruiting thing. You got to have a balance of long-term guys, short-term guys. It can't all be transfers. And if it is, then it's a one-year thing every year. That's with the Missouri thing. Like Coach Pitino, he's phenomenal, by the way. I've known him. A guy on my staff played for him. He recruited him back in the 90s, and he's phenomenal. He ain't easy to play for now. People think I'm difficult, whew. but when you're bringing in 5 new guys to be your guys year after year after year, you're going to have some bad years because they're human beings, man. They got to connect. If they don't connect, your team can't win.
I was going to also add kind of your track record of players that have played for you for multiple years have continued to grow and get better, and so trying to keep that model together can be difficult nowadays.
Yeah, I've I cut my teeth as a high school coach, and not as an AAU guy. I used to coach AAU, but I was a high school coach, and so everything is about watching people get better and helping them get better. It's how I learned, and then I get into college and I end up working for Bob Huggins. That's what he was about. He's about long term and those guys getting better. And it's what I've done my whole career. It's what I know. I'm not probably real good coaching guys just for 1 year. With that said, Michael Beasley had the most productive 1 year in the history of college basketball as far as efficiency and what he did. That's more him than me. I'm probably not the best at just managing guys for 10 months. But still, if my job is to help improve their life, help them get better. And if I can help them get better in 10 months where they go make $8 million in the NBA or $800,000 playing in another school, I did my job. Yep. They did their job. I did my job. That means that our team won, they produced, they grew, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what my job is.
One more question? No? You guys good? Question? No? All right. 6 o'clock. This is our first Saturday night game since you've been here. I can't recall another one. Do you guys, last time we played a evening game on a Saturday? I know you're going to be stewing all day. I know you like those early tips.
You know what I dislike almost as much as losing?
Playing late at night?
Saturday night games. And it's real simple because, and this is the truth, I don't unwind from games right away. Whether we win or lose is irrelevant. I don't go home when we lose and pound the walls and all that. I do. I did that.
I do that for you.
I did that when I was young. Let me tell you something. When I was a young coach and I was single, I'd be in here till closing time, and I'd try to find somebody I can headbutt by the end of the night if we didn't win. That's how stupid I was back then. Now it's I just lay in bed because I have a responsibility to all these guys that sign up to come work here, all these guys that sign up to come play here. I have a responsibility to help them every day. So when the game ends, whether we win or lose, I sit there and I stare at the ceiling, and all I can think of is I replay every decision I made during the course of the game, trying to figure out, did I do my job good, what I messed up, what I got to do better, and I can't sleep until I get that out of my head. So when you play Saturday night, what happens is then Sunday I'm going to be at church early in the morning. That's just me. I'm not here to preach to other people, but that's me. I'm going to be at church early in the morning. So now I'm on short sleep Sunday. Now Sunday is family day if we play Wednesday. If we play Tuesday, it's work day. If we play Wednesday, we're usually off on Sunday, so it's family day. So now I'm on short sleep on Sunday. I have to commit time to my wife and my children. It's my number one responsibility in life. But then I have to be prepared for Monday morning practice. So that means that sometimes Sunday night, now I start watching film because now I'm fully removed from the last game and it's time to get to the next game. So now I'll be short on sleep Monday morning. And that's why I can't say that. Saturday noon, Saturday by 6 p.m., my brain's clear, so now I'm able to move forward and relax and sleep better, and it allows me to be in a much better mood on Monday morning.
Well, hopefully we get a nice turnout for Rhode Island giveaway for the replica jerseys, which look amazing. Great congrats to our marketing team for being able to put those together, and it'll be 6 o'clock on Saturday night. We hope to see everybody there. Thank you all for coming here today. Frank,
thank you
so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow at shoot-around.
Can I tell you a quick story before you?
Well, floor is yours.
So I'm the assistant at Northeastern, and I drive up to Winchendon, Mass, and Mike Burns, who's the coach at Tilton. Mike Burns played here at UMass. At the time, he was the coach at Winchendon, and Mike Hart, who's the coach of St. Andrews. We were all sitting in Mike Burns' house after his game. They played each other, and we're just sitting around his house on Winchendon's campus, and we're just sitting in the backyard talking, and he's had a not fenced in, but screened in area there, and so it's nice and warm in there, and we're just reminiscing because we've all known each other from our high school days, and Mike Burns pulls out a box. You just said the new throwback uniforms. Pulls out a box, and he's got brand new Winchendon uniforms, and Mike Hart says, we should put them on. So Mike Hart is Chris Farley reincarnated, just to give you an idea what he looks like.
Fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah, I'm not a small guy. Mike Burns is not a small guy. So we put on these uniforms that were tighter than you can imagine. And then they had another great idea. There's a great little bar up there called the Thirsty Turtle. And they were like, let's go to the Turtle.
Turtle. Oh.
So in walked me, Mike Hart's assistant, who's a redheaded 6'10", 270-pound guy, and Mike Burns wearing these tight uniforms. And the locals at the bar looked at us. They said, you guys had a game today?
Did you take a picture? Does a photo exist somewhere?
There's
We're going to have
pictures.
to dig that up.
There's pictures. I don't know who's got them. I'm glad these things didn't exist.
I know,
I'd
right?
be in a lot of trouble.
Coach, thanks so much. Good luck tomorrow, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll see you all at the Mullins Center. This has been Just Being Frank, live from the Spoke, brought to you by our good friends at the Massachusetts Collective. Until next time, he's head coach Frank Martin. My name's Jay Burnham, and this has been Just Being Frank. We'll see you later.